All right, thank you for staying with Daybreak. The State of the Nation discussion starts right now. We talk about matters, politics, and everything in between there. All my guests are already with me in studio. We'd like to hear from you at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Citizen Daybreak and start introducing my guest from my farthest right. Honorable Joe Nyutu is here. He's a senator from Murang'a. Thank you for making time. Right next to him is Eric Okeyo, governance and security expert. Thank you very much for making time. And followed by Honorable Samson Cherargei, senator for Nandi. Thank you for making time. And Honorable Jared Okello, Member of Parliament for Nyando. Thank you very much for making time. Before we get into the politics of the day, let's talk about the politics of our neighbor. Defying Suluhu, that's on the front page of the Standard here. People's power. Tanzania is on the edge as violent protests erupt across major cities with hundreds of angry youth defying police to denounce what they call a sham election. President Samia Suluhu Hassan is casting to victory after sidelining opposition leaders and tightening a grip on power. Roads are burning, the internet is throttled, and public transport has ground to a halt in an unprecedented show of defiance. Jared, why do we keep seeing these sorts of headlines when it comes to elections for our leaders around the region? Is this an immature democracy or just bad manners from the leaders?
Thank you very much, Trevor, and good morning to the nation and the global community. And I'm glad to see my friends here, starting by my Omera Yawa, Honorable Nyutu, my very good friend Eric Okeyo, Arita Kwe from Nyakach, and my neighbor, the senator for Nandi. It's always a pleasure to debate alongside them, enlighten the public in a way that they understand the in-depth issues around our politics. For Tanzania, this election particularly is the very first that we are seeing uproar cutting across many cities or towns in Tanzania. And this is a testament to the people holding back annoyance. You remember very key personalities with political parties who wanted to gun for that presidency were either banned from running or were disqualified by the government and the Electoral Commission. So people have been boiling with this kind of anger, and they did not have the best opportunity to pour it out to the public. And therefore, when the elections were called, slated for yesterday, the 29th of October 2025, the country was already experiencing a lot of unrests. And therefore, this was the best opportunity for supporters of those who were banned or disqualified to come out in numbers and to express their discontent with the way the elections have since been handled. Chadema party leader Tundu Lissu was not only banned but also arrested and charged. We do not know whether they are trumped up charges, but there has been a legal process that has been ongoing in courts. You remember some of our very good Kenyans went to be with the Tundu Lissu in court and were brought back into the country, deported. Some were abducted, some experienced torture, and they had to come back home. And the courts in Tanzania have ensured that the decision is going to be made 2 weeks after this election, so that by 2 weeks, a declaration shall have been made, and probably enthronement of Mama Suluhu again shall have ensued. So you can see gagging of the freedoms, electoral freedoms in Tanzania. The ACT Mzalendo, Honorable Mpina, ACT Wazalendo Party, Mpina, was also banned from running. And these were key opposition leaders in Tanzania who, given an opportunity to run, were going to give Mama Suluhu a run for her money. And therefore, by so denying them the opportunity to run, was so deliberate to give Mama a free ride. I do not know why she hasn't been announced last night, because she was running, Suluhu running against Hassan. So it is hard to take,
Yeah.
But we also have to remember that we are dealing in a very diverse and different political outfit. When we were growing up, and I want to believe most of us here, we only had one channel of disseminating information, and that was VOK, Voice of Kenya, which was government run, meaning therefore that what was coming out to the public was already vetoed, so that you only hear what the government wants you to hear. And then other media houses were given licenses to operate, including the Royal Media Services, with an array of radio stations and TV stations. So that therefore expanded, you know, the aura of information gathering. Then what made it worse was the coming in of the social media, which never vetoes anything. In fact, they deliver it raw. And young people are always 100% on the social media networks. So you cannot hide any information away from them. And that has, in effect, empowered them. You know, they are so empowered. You saw what happened in this country last year, and even the anniversary on the 25th, how they can use social media to marshal themselves, to rally themselves behind a common cause. So that is the challenge that for the first time Tanzania is experiencing. A lot of information through CCM, Chama cha Mapinduzi, has been held back from the public glare. But now they have a recourse. They have all the channels to get what they want to hear as and when they want to hear. Now, sadly, as I conclude, I've just read that some Kenyans at our Namanga border wanted to cross over to go and join their friends in Tanzania on the riots. I think that is indiscipline. We cannot do that because we must respect sovereignty of any country. But I wish Mama well. She has already won. As she begins a new chapter in Tanzania, she has two things to do. One is to create jobs for the youths who are disillusioned. And number two, she has to work extra hard to rally behind leaders across the East African community so that we can strengthen our confederation. All
right, let me bring in Cherargei on this. Cherargei, why is it so difficult to have free and fair elections on most of the states on this other side?
Thank you, Trevor, and good morning. Let me first of all, because the last time I was in this show was in Busia, to pass my deepest condolences to the family of the late Right Honorable Raila Odinga, the ODM supporters and Kenyans and the global community. It is unfortunate that we lost him at the time that we should be celebrating him, because even what we are discussing is what is vote for this in this country, especially rule of law, democracy, and constitution, and of course devolution. So my deepest condolences. We were there, and you remember we took a number of 80 bulls to signify his 80 years of resilient service to humanity. I'm happy I saw a number of your colleagues from Royal Media Services also passing the deepest condolences. Although I didn't see you, maybe you'll show me the picture after this to confirm. You know, you will need that picture in the near future for other things that might come along your way, Trevor. Secondly is that, you know, when I saw what happened yesterday in Tanzania, I remember what President Samia Suluhu Hassan said, that kwa jirani kuna waka. I think in life you should be careful on what you say. And she was chiding us, you know, she was, but we wish her well. I think she has already won, as my colleague has said. I think this was Samia versus Suluhu, and Suluhu versus Hassan. So I don't think there is much we can say at this point in time. But one thing she has to learn is that when you want to do democracy, open the democratic space. We don't want to discuss the internal affairs of the country, of Tanzania. In my culture, they say we share sunshine in the Kalenjin local language, there is a saying that we share sunshine, but we don't share houses. To mean that everybody has his own problems. But it looks like this youth issue, youth implosion, is across Africa and across the world, which means as the current leadership and governance structures, we must be alive to the challenges that young people face today. When I saw the riots in parts of Tanzania, it shows there is an informed generation that knows what happened. When Tundu Lissu was being prosecuted on allegations of treason and other charges, you saw Mpina was also barred, I think, from running, and a number. So I was even following keenly because I was in Tanzania this early year. And I realized that from the information we have seen, it was only the president who was campaigning. Even the posters across Tanzania belong to the incumbent president, President Samia Suluhu Hassan. And when you just enter Namanga, all the way to Arusha, to Dodoma, you only see pictures of President Samia Suluhu Hassan. And I asked a number of people, and of course, that is the nature. You know, CCM is also a machinery. I think, in my own opinion, and from the observation from the discourse with a number of friends in Tanzania, I think CCM is a machinery, just like Chinese Communist Party. So sometimes the decisions that are made are beyond President Samia Suluhu Hassan. And that is why you saw CCM coming out fighting for those positions. But I want to agree with you, as at now, because the international observers, there were allegations that they were denied access to observe elections. As at now, the free and fair election is still a mirage in African continent. We are seeing what is happening in Uganda. You have seen there were allegations that an hotel in Lira, where the Bobby Wine is campaigning, was surrounded by the police or the military. So there is still a lot of challenges. You know, people, free and fair does not mean the day of election. Free and fair means the entire process, including campaigning period. And the fact that one of the critics of government, Tundu Lissu, was in prison, and Mpina, as my brother said, and a number of presidential hopefuls were in prison, it looks like it was a well-crafted scheme to ensure that the free and fair elections did not happen in Tanzania. But we are waiting for what will see. But let us, I think it is President Samia Suluhu Hassan, Suluhu Hassan, who will win this election. We wish her well. We hope she will now be magnanimous. Let him accommodate those divergent views. He can learn from the late former Right Honorable Prime Minister and ensure he does broad-based and handshake in politics of Tanzania. And finally, you know, I'm also conflicted because the running mate of President Samia Suluhu Hassan is my good friend, Ambassador Emmanuel Nchimbi, who comes from Singida. So she is the presumptive deputy president. So now I wish them well. Okay.
Let me bring in Eric on this. Eric, why is that a mirage, like Chirarage is saying, free and fair elections in most African states?
Thank you, Trevor, first for having me. Let me also join Senator Chirarage in sending my condolences to the family, friends, ODM and Kenya at large following the passing on of the Honorable Raila Odinga. And may his soul rest in peace, even as he is feted more by those who didn't wish him the well they now profess. Now, Trevor, you know what happens is African leaders have believed that it will be their way and no other person's way. Next door in Tanzania is typical bad manners, because when President Suluhu assumed reins of power, there was all expectancy of hope and good governance. She appeared meek, weak, almost tactless as she was sworn in. And some of us thought that Tanzania was going to now be on the right track. But alas, she has proved that wait until you taste it. I have not seen a sovereign neighbor that deports a former Chief Justice of its neighbor. Dr. Willy Mutunga has impressive reform credentials, perhaps the age of President Suluhu. And the Honorable Martha Karua, having been Minister even for Justice and Constitutional Affairs, being a senior counsel. So those were signs of a bad leader. But I must also say, look, the other day someone said that it is not possible to beat an African president. But God pays you instantly, because Malawi is not in Europe, it is just here. And I want to say it is true, President Suluhu will ultimately be declared president, first because she ensured all the other people on the ballot paper supposedly competing her were her creation, and that she trampled on all legitimate competition.
Yeah.
It's even good that the protests come when Tundu Lissu is still incarcerated. I don't know what it would have been had he been out. But what do I predict in Tanzania? I predict a situation where immediately she is declared, there may be some stable instability that may lead her to, you know, a sort of an arrangement in which she'll be forced to bring in the other people. I think we have underestimated the resolve of the youth too much. Now they know.
Yeah.
And I think that Tanzania is a bad example. Uganda is coming quickly in January. I hope that even us as Kenya, we then learn from those mistakes and don't continue with them.
Okay. Joe?
Well, I think, Trevor, thank you very much, but I think most of the things I would have wanted to say have already been said by my co-panelists. But we must say that the events that are unfolding in Tanzania are testimony to the fact that you cannot suppress people forever. Because Tanzania, Trevor, is a politically suppressed community. So that when you go there, and my two colleagues here, Senator Cherargei and Honorable Jared, will tell you that most committees of parliament visited Tanzania, especially last year, sometimes not once, not twice. And so being politicians, every time we went there, we could interact with people and sometimes try to get their feeling and their thinking of the political situation or of politics in general. And one thing that for me, I don't know whether my colleagues noted that, one thing for me that I noted is that Tanzanians are kind of enslaved by CCM. Because I met several of them telling me that, well, we are not happy with Samia, but jameni tutafanya nini? Yeye sasa ndiye wa CCM na sasa CCM ni chama cha baba wa taifa, lazima tutamchagua. I mean, so you find, you know, that you can elect somebody just because they belong to a party, regardless of how, that you do not like them, you do not like their policies, their agenda for the country, but because you are, you know, faithful to the father of the nation, that is Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere, you still vote for them. So what is happening is good, because it shows that the wave of change is actually going to come, and it's coming. And we must say that even as we say that it is the reawakening of the youth, but I think Samia Suluhu, compared to her predecessors, I think has been excessive in her dictatorship. Of course, we know that his immediate, predecessor was also dictatorial in a way, but then not to the extent of, you know, sending to a kind of detention those that are, you know, opposed to you. And like my friend Erica said, you know, a neighboring country, purporting to be that it can deport, you know, people with good reform credentials like Martha Karua and William Mutunga, of course, pointed to the dictatorship and the intolerance of that particular regime. And you remember that some two human rights activists, Boniface Mwangi, to be particular, and one lady, I think from Uganda, were not only deported that time, but they were abducted. And when they left, then they were not in very good shape health-wise. And so, maybe just to say that the wind of change is finally in Tanzania. And I don't agree with my colleagues when they say that Samia Suluhu has already won. Won against who? I mean, you know, for you to win, you must have been competing with somebody. This is somebody who has not been this is a candidate that has not competed with anybody. So I think the right thing to say is that Samia Suluhu will of course declare herself president, not win. But we want to assure her, because we have been here, that the road ahead, even when she declares herself president, will be bumpy. And that for sure is there. Because I think Tanzania is where Kenya was in the pre-1991 when we repealed the Section 2A of the Constitution that allowed multipartyism in Kenya. I mean, where there was a crackdown of anybody that had a divergent view. And of course, the things that are happening in Tanzania happened in Kenya then. And so I think even those who have intention to be president in Tanzania in future after Samia should know that they must be democratic. Because the world as it is now, the level of development, information technology and everything will not allow somebody to be dictatorial while people keep quiet. But Samia Suluhu would also do herself some good to, of course, refer to Nepal. Because there were reports yesterday that even the internet was shut down in Tanzania, and that there was there is a curfew as we speak in Dar es Salaam in particular. So she would do good to look at what happened in Nepal, where the president was removed, actually ordered a shutdown of the internet, but people still protested. So I think there are lessons to be learned. But Tanzania will finally be liberated with time and become a democratic.
I'll take a quick commercial break. When you come back now, we talk about local politics. I had a chat with the acting party leader for ODM, Dr. Oburu Oginga, and that part of the conversation I see has been reflected here on the Daily Nation. Oburu to Ruto saying that we welcome you back to ODM, but there are conditions there. Acting ODM leader says that the president will have to fight to be the party flag bearer. So is he welcome back? Is that the winning matrix? That's what we talk about right after this break. See you in a short while.